Whether you are a seasoned professional that's been doing this for over a decade like myself, or someone that is brand new to wedding photography, there are a lot of things that are outside the norm of what you might think would be the common things to bring to a wedding. So today we're going to talk about my wedding photography essentials, all of the little add-ons and extra things that you might not think about, especially if you are new, but definitely some things that I know when I talk to my other fellow photographers, people that have been doing it for over a decade like me, they're like, oh my gosh, I'd never thought of that. So today, hopefully I can give you some new tips and tricks and some things that you might not have thought about to put into your wedding essentials. Now, right off the bat, we're going to talk about cameras. I mean, a vast majority of this channel talks about cameras, and I'm not going to tell you like here's the camera to buy or anything like that. But what you want to do is find a camera, find a system, find something that you can just absolutely rely on. Something that has very reliable autofocus, very reliable just about everything. You know, you want something that has flexible dynamic range, good high ISO performance. For me personally, that is the Sony a7R5, and I like it because it has high megapixels and I can crop in if I need to, specifically with a button that puts it into APS-C crop mode. But the main reason that I am using these Sony cameras as my main digital camera of choice in terms of autofocus digital cameras is because the autofocus is incredible. So I want to be able to fully rely on the autofocus and not have any second guessing that the way that I'm using focus and things isn't going to work. So finding yourself a reliable autofocusing camera that you just know like the back of your hand is going to be incredibly important. Now, finding one camera is great, but you definitely need at least two. My recommendation personally is 3 cameras. The reason there being that the first wedding that I ever photographed in my entire life, as people started walking down the aisle, the camera that I was using froze up. Thankfully, someone had told me, make sure you have backups of everything. So I quickly just grabbed the other camera on the other side of my body and started using that one. But cameras will fail. It's not a matter of if, it's a when. So you need to be prepared. And so having that camera, even if you are a single camera photographer, having another camera in a bag that's on your person, or at least within like 10 feet of you, so that you can, in a split second, grab another camera and keep the whole thing going, is absolutely imperative. Now, we also want to just be completely cognizant of the fact that crazy things can happen. So I also recommend having some other sort of camera on you, maybe not on your person, but at least in a bag that's nearby. We've all seen those videos of people falling into like baptismal founts and like water and things like that. I've also fallen when I've done snow weddings. There's just tons of ways that you could end up having an issue. I have to have some other kind of camera for 2 reasons, both as a backup, but also as another kind of creative endeavor. So a reason why a camera like the X100VI is just a really good third camera for me is that it both works as a secondary camera, because worst case scenario, a 35mm focal length can do the vast majority of things. This camera also, when it has a filter or some sort of thing over it, is weather sealed. So it's also a good camera that if you do need to be out in the elements, maybe you just grab this camera instead of one of your other cameras so that you can kind of save those. Just lots of options. And this camera also is just like a fun, cool little camera. When you put this up to your face, it just doesn't feel like a work camera in the same way that like a Sony camera does. Sony cameras are fantastic. I own 4 of them, but there are other cameras like the X100VI, like a Leica, a Hasselblad, things like that, that just put you in a slightly different frame of mind. And I know a lot of my photographer friends own one of these, or like a Ricoh GR3X, something like that. And then they're able to just walk around maybe cocktail hour or something like that and just have a smaller camera that's less invasive onto people's space and just gives out a very different feel than having a bigger, larger camera. So we've talked about cameras and the absolute importance of getting something that's reliable, but also having some sort of backup camera. And then as far as lenses go, I'm not going to tell you, again, anything very specific on this. It's up to personal preference and knowing what type of wedding you're going to be going into, right? I know that if I'm doing a wedding in a smaller, kind of tighter space, I'm going to need wider lenses than if I'm doing a wedding in like a large Catholic church or something like that. Generally, you're gonna have to have lenses in 3 different categories, maybe 4 if we're really kind of nitpicking, but you're gonna want some sort of wide angle lens somewhere in between like 24 and 35. For years, my widest lens was the 35 millimeter, and that just wasn't the best idea. There was tons of times where I wish I had something wider, but I know a lot of people use a 35-85 combo, which can be really, really useful. So you want to have something in that kind of wide angle range to really help you set the scene, make sure you're getting the expanse of where you're at and not just those tighter details. And then if you look at a lot of my work, a lot of it is around that kind of 50 millimeter range. I think that a lot of those photos feel a little bit more normal, and especially in the wedding space, they're more traditional, but you kind of get like that editorial feel out of it. It gives you enough separation if you're using something quick, but enough context so it's not like you're just completely obliterating the background into something that it's unrecognizable of the place you're at. And then something in that kind of like 75 to 200-ish range. I often recommend something in like the 85 to 135 range. Those can obviously be really, really good lenses, but you want something where, especially if you are either a second shooter for another photographer or you are just the primary photographer and you are doing things only by yourself, you want something where you can get something kind of wide on maybe one camera and then pull up another camera, and then you have something that you can kind of cut in a little bit and get maybe the ring exchange. You can get speeches during the ceremony. You can get speeches during the reception and still get crowd and room reactions, things like that. So you want to make sure you're building out a kit of lenses that is going to be really, really versatile to be able to not only get one little thing in front of you or maybe farther away, but be able to react to the situations that are going on. So good combos, if you are going to be using some sort of prime system, is to have like a 35 and an 85 or a 24 and a 50, and then having other lenses that can kind of augment that a little bit. Now, again, on the preparation side, we always want to make sure that we are ready for things to happen, whether we like it or not. A really easy way to go about having some sort of redundancy, especially if you are someone that doesn't have like a full kit of prime lenses. But if you are a photographer, I know a lot of people that are really 35 millimeter heavy or really 50 millimeter heavy. The great idea there is to either buy a backup cheaper version of one of those types of lenses, or simply to purchase something like the Sigma 28-70 f2.8 or like the Sony 24-70, although those lenses are pretty expensive. So Sony does have the 24-50. Those lenses are under $1,000, and having that as a backup in a worst case scenario, it's not going to really screw you over for the rest of the day. You're going to have something that works out. Now, speaking of camera and lenses, that's kind of where my talent really is, not stuck in admin work. So thankfully, the next essential is where HoneyBook comes in. With tools to streamline proposals, contracts, invoices, and payments, HoneyBook helps you save time, stay organized, and deliver an exceptional client experience. Now, through the rest of January, they're giving you even more reasons to jumpstart your year. Enter their January Jumpstart giveaway, and you'll not only get the tools you need to succeed, but also a chance to win $10,000 to grow your business. Imagine $5,000 to invest in that dream camera or lens you've been eyeing, a $4,000 system setup with a HoneyBook Pro to customize your specific workflows, templates, and automations, and a full year of HoneyBook Premium. And even if you don't win, starting your free trial gives you access to everything that HoneyBook offers: polished proposals, seamless scheduling, and the ability to manage client interactions all in one place. But don't wait, this offer ends January 31st, so start your free trial today, enter to win, and let 2025 be the year you focus on what matters most, capturing unforgettable moments while growing your business. Now, the next thing that I think that not a lot of people think enough about is how you are going to be carrying all of the things that you need to be carrying on a wedding day. For me, I've done videos on this in the past, but I am really, really in love with this concept. It is the Hold Fast Quiver, and the way it works is it is a bag that you are using on a dual camera harness, and it allows you to put a lot of different things into this bag, put it on the backside of your body while you're carrying 2 other cameras with you at the same time. So I'll start here first with the camera straps. I really, really like the Peak Design hardware. It just allows me to move things in and out really quickly. So all the cameras I have the Peak Design anchors on them. And then I use these short straps from Clever Supply Co. So it makes it so I don't have to have a lot of different camera straps for every single camera. And it makes putting cameras away, using them one-handed, all those kind of things a lot easier. Now, before we head the next essential, I'm going to be dropping 2 of my absolute favorite tips and tricks about wedding photography at the end of this video. So make sure that you are subscribed if you haven't already. Make sure you like the video if you are finding value here. And then again, watch to the end of the video. It's A, really helpful for me, but B is, I guarantee you, going to be helpful for you if you're not already doing these things. And then on top of that, I've been using these dual camera harnesses from either Clever Supply Co. or Holdfast. This is the Holdfast Moneymaker in this black and brown combo. It's absolutely my favorite one. And then they make attachments where you can put something like the Peak Design hardware onto there. So it just frees up a ton of versatility, so I can just stick any camera I want onto this dual camera strap. I can choose which camera goes on which side. And what I usually do is I put base plates onto the bottom of the cameras, and then I'll stick a little thing on here to make the Peak Design strap point be in the middle. The thing I especially like about this is it just distributes the weight really well. It makes carrying 2 cameras really, really easy. And it's just been a combination of things that I've used for well over a decade now at every single wedding. And while it's not an essential, it's as close to an as essential as I can get because it's much more difficult to use and do a wedding without one now. Now, you'll also see some additional harnesses right here, and that's what attaches this bag to this whole setup. And again, this is the Holdfast quiver bag. It just allows you to have so many things, kind of like an archer has a quiver. You can just pull things in and out of it very, very quickly. And this is where most of my kind of like random extra essentials are, right? So things like a memory card case, extra batteries. I have a video light here. This one is from Hobolight. It's the Iris, and it comes with a few different, yeah, that's clearly very bright. So it has a lot of flexibility there. I use this in a pinch where I want some sort of extra light for maybe some couples portraits, but oftentimes what I'm using it for is maybe like a cake cutting or something that I just want some constant light, maybe can help other people. And these things are so small that I can just hand it to a guest and say, hey, can you just hold this right here? And even if I don't have an assistant, I can get someone to do a little bit of light assisting for me. And then the other thing that is very, very random about this, but is one of those like customer service, client management things that is very, very, very helpful, is you see guests at weddings all the time trying to take photos on their iPhone of a beautiful scene, and the lighting is just horrific. You know, it's really well lit behind them, but very terribly lit on them. So during things like cocktail hour, maybe after dinner when people are trying to take some photos, I'll just be walking around, and if I see someone trying to take a photo, I'll just walk over, give them a little lighting, make their iPhone photos a lot better. And obviously it doesn't do anything for me, but that just like extra little client experience is something that is really, really helpful to people. And you can just tell people are really, really grateful that you are willing to just kind of help them out with their little memories of their weddings, even if they're a guest, even if they never see you again. But it's just one of those things where just it helps the general mood of people. It helps things be better, and hopefully it helps people's perception of you. Now, I also carry some small speed lights in here. This is the Godox TT350S. I have the V100 coming in and some other options that are hopefully going to be really cool. But what I like about this specifically is it's just really small. I can use it in a pinch, and it's more, this is like my bag of, oh my gosh, I need something quick. It's on me all times, and I'm just ready to use it. And this bag is just super helpful for carrying around lenses like this. This is the Viltrox 135 f1.8, but I don't need to use it all day. So I'll usually stick this in here during a ceremony. Obviously it's heavy, but it fits. I can pull it out and use it really quick, and then just toss it back in here. And then it has this cover here where you're able to put, you can see that there is a main pouch here and then a secondary pouch here where you're able to put, again, things like memory cards, batteries. But again, it's just like the tool pouch for me. Now, some other essentials that I don't think a lot of other people think about. The first one being earplugs. So these are these little loop earplugs. You might have seen them on social media or something. The idea for me to just have something that once dancing starts and I am up right next to the band or up right next to the DJ, just something to block out a lot of the decibels and a lot of the high-end decibels that are going to be hitting your eardrums. Definitely invest in a pair of earplugs and just use them only for this. So these earplugs live in this bag. They don't go anywhere else. And they are absolutely a wedding photography essential that I don't think many people are using. And then the second thing being some sort of like multi-tool of some sort. So these are just my studio keys. So this is how I get into my office every day. But I have this little multi-tool from Condor Blue and my friend David Manning. It has a screwdriver. It has space for bits right here. And then it also has one of these Allen keys that is the same Allen key that goes on all the base plates, all the tripods, all that kind of stuff for my camera. So very, very useful there. Another little bonus for the, I guess, bridesmaids as well, but groomsmen in your life has a bottle opener. It has a flathead screwdriver down here. Just a lot of really, really useful things. And then the bonus part has an air tag, so you're not going to be losing your stuff, hopefully. So all of that goes in here and just makes this a little bit more useful because it actually incorporates some more physical tools into my camera bag that then make things a little bit easier and more useful. And while it's not my responsibility to have tools like that as a wedding photographer, I'm just one of the people that's there all day, and as helpful as I can be is the best I can be. This bag also has a little cell phone pocket, so you can just put this in and out right there. And then it has this secondary pocket where you can put things like other keys or things like that. And oftentimes, and good, I still have some in here, I have just some double-sided tape. It's just something that I can use to help people's wardrobe work a little bit better, just in case it's not working as planned. And then I don't know if I have one in here. I don't right now, but one of the things that this also has is just this big open pouch right here. That's where I will often print up any photo lists I might have. I can print up timelines, things like that. And the reason I like printed timelines and printed photo lists is because I, don't want to be on my phone as much. I don't want people looking at me just going like, oh, is he just scrolling Instagram or whatever? I'd rather have like a sheet in front of me. And then the other thing is during portrait times, I can hand off that list to somebody else to help them like wrangle family members, things like that. It's easier to show people where we're on the timeline. It's also easier to then take a pen and cross things out. I don't have a pen on me right now either, but I also usually have just like a nice pen because oftentimes when people are signing their marriage license, they don't even have a pen or they have a bad pen. So I want to be the person that has a good pen. But overall, this bag definitely an essential and has all of the extra essentials in it. Now, on top of that, I'm not going to go like super deep into editing or this video is going to be crazy long, but I have my Cascade presets that I've been using for a long time now, and they are specifically suited towards weddings and trying to maximize color fidelity, get you good dynamic range, things like that, and get you a less digital experience. I'm not trying to emulate film necessarily, but my stuff is definitely anchored in the look of film. I've shot thousands of rolls of Kodak film over the years, and my presets are definitely kind of inspired by that. And I'm trying to make something that in 10 years' time, you can look back at and go, yeah, these look great. And they're not going to be really, really tied to any specific editing style as much as some of the other trends go. So again, I try to have kind of like a more filmic anchor point to those. Now, those presets work in Lightroom, Lightroom Classic, and Adobe Camera Raw. So if you're interested, obviously those are in the description and down below as well. And then finally, I think my other essential is just the delivery experience. I've been using PicTime for a long time. I think that their galleries and their whole setup just looks really, really clean and kind of fits the aesthetic that I'm going for. It also makes it so I can provide different slideshows and things like that to my clients that kind of like up the game a little bit and give them something a little bit more than they might have been expecting. And it obviously just allows me to store every wedding that I've ever done digitally on the cloud, where I'm able to send people photos from 10 years ago. I get emails, probably 5 a year, from people that are moving or plugged in their hard drive for an anniversary or something like that, and they don't have their photos for some reason. And generally, I can get them their photos within a day because I can go back into the backlog of things that I've uploaded to PicTime and just send them a new link. And it's just so incredibly helpful to have that as another kind of like customer experience kind of thing. And I think it's just one of those kind of legacy things that maybe that just helps their perception of me long term. Maybe they'll refer me to somebody else at some point, but it's just one of those things that I think is the right thing to do. And honestly, I think pick time is the best way to do it. And then the two last tips that I have, I think are maybe my favorite tips. They're not necessarily essentials, but they're my wedding rules of sorts. The first one is that no matter how inconvenient it is going to be to somebody, if someone offers you water, you say yes. I have gotten too many times where I've gotten to a reception, I haven't drank any water all day, or not enough at least. And right about the time that dance floor is about to hit off, I start getting a headache. And then the reception is just miserable because I have duh in my head as I'm going thud, 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 ouch, 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 ouch. There are going to be times where people are offering you water or something to drink or something just out of politeness, and they might not necessarily even mean it. But my answer to myself, because I don't like to be a burden to people, I don't like to be a bother, but if someone offers me a drink or anything like that, I every time will say, oh, I'd love a water. Thank you so much. And so you can be gracious about it. And if people offer, they can't be mad if they, actually need to go get you water. But it helps you so much to be hydrated during a day. And again, oftentimes things are absolutely chaotic and sometimes you don't have the time to grab water. But that is my thing, that anytime someone offers me water or I see water available, I will go drink some water, even if it's just a small one of those little cups before a ceremony or something like that. I just want to make sure that I am hydrated because that's just an obvious human thing. But it's something that I didn't do for a long time. And then by the time, again, that I got to receptions and things, I would get a headache and it would just be the worst. And then the last little tip that I have that I think is freaking genius is the reception shoe change. So oftentimes you want to have a nicer pair of shoes, maybe during the ceremony and things like that. But then once you have some time, maybe during cocktail hour, maybe during the reception, I usually bring an all black pair of shoes that is something other than the shoe I've been wearing all day. It doesn't matter if you even switch from dress shoe to dress shoe, just having your feet be in slightly different spaces and having the pressure points be in slightly different places can make your day so much more enjoyable. It's one of the things that I learned when I was trekking in the Himalayas when I was a lot younger. We would switch up our socks every few hours, partially just to make sure that you're not sweating and partially just to make sure that your feet are hitting in different spots. And I've moved that into my weddings, and just knowing that if I don't have super sore feet from being on my feet for like 12 to 15 hours, just one shoe change from one pair of dress shoes even to another pair of dress shoes, or from a pair of dress shoes into like an all black pair of sneakers or something, can be so beneficial. So bringing an extra pair of shoes actually definitely is an essential. And hopefully that's something that you can glean out of this. If nothing else, do the reception shoe change. So would love to know what your essentials are. If you have something else that you do that is something other than what I do, leave it in the comments down below. Thanks again to Honeybook for sponsoring this video. I really appreciate the support. And if you are a wedding photographer, again, drop your suggestions in the comments down below and let me know how 2025 is shaping up for you. If you want to look at a full ceremony video you can check one out right here. Check out another wedding video I have up here, and I will see you in one of those.